Picture the scene: Christmas morning, twinkling lights on the wreaths, the scent of cinnamon and pine in the air. Your sister tears open the shiny gold wrapping paper, revealing a $4,300 Gucci bag. She screams, jumps, and hugs her parents as if she's just won the lottery. Meanwhile, you hold in your hands a thin, cheap envelope, the kind you buy in packs of 10 at the supermarket. Inside, a $2 card. No gift certificate. No check. Not even a handwritten message. Just "Happy Holidays" printed in generic font and a snowflake sticker that's starting to peel off. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an oversight. This was my entire childhood condensed into a single devastating moment. And what happened next changed absolutely everything in my life. I'm sitting in that old floral armchair in my parents' house, the same one that's been there since I was a child. The Christmas lights twinkle in a hypnotic rhythm. Family photos are everywhere on the walls and shelves, the fireplace crackling with that comforting sound of wood burning. From the outside, it looks perfect, doesn't it? The ideal family gathered for the ideal Christmas. But here I am, watching my 26-year-old sister Juliet completely lose her composure over this cream-colored Gucci bag, the Marmont model she's been stalking on Instagram for months. She's squealing like she's won a trip around the world. My mother is beaming, looking at her with that sparkle in her eyes, calling her my girl, stroking her hair as if she were still 5. My father is nodding with that look of deep satisfaction, telling her that she deserves it, that she worked hard this year, that she is special. Meanwhile, I'm here, carefully opening my envelope, trying with all my might not to let my hands shake. Because, honestly, I've had years and years of practice at this. Years perfecting the art of hiding the pain, of pretending everything is okay, of smiling when inside I'm bleeding. Inside the envelope is this generic card with a picture of snow-capped mountains. That's it. There's no personal note, no money, nothing but this message printed on cheap paper. I turn the card over, searching for something, anything, a handwritten word, a hastily scrawled, "We love you." Nothing. The back is blank, as empty as I feel right now. I keep my face completely neutral, even though something inside me has just shattered into 1,000 sharp pieces. 29 years. 29 years of hoping, wishing, praying for things to be different. 29 Christmases, 29 birthdays, 29 opportunities for them to see me, really see me. And in an instant, all that hope evaporates like smoke. It's over. The illusion has finally shattered. My Aunt Margaret sits across the room, next to the giant Christmas tree. Our eyes meet for a brief second. I see horror cross her face, just for half a second, before she controls her expression. But I saw it. She knows. She's always known. This is absolutely wrong, twisted, cruel. But Margaret won't say anything. No one ever does. It's as if there's an unspoken agreement that we simply won't talk about the giant elephant in the room. My dad is already checking his watch, talking about the traffic to the restaurant where we'll have Christmas dinner. My mom is busy refilling Juliet's drink, not even glancing my way. My sister is strutting around the living room, showing everyone how the leather catches the light perfectly, how the gold chains sparkle, already planning out loud what outfit she'll wear with the bag on New Year's Eve. My hands finally start to shake. I fold the card carefully, almost reverently, and tuck it into my coat pocket. It's as if I'm preserving evidence. Evidence of my own invisibility. Tangible proof that, to my family, I simply don't matter in the same way. But here's what makes it even more painful. Earlier that day, I was in my tiny Portland apartment, sitting on my living room floor, carefully wrapping the gifts I'd bought for them. I'm a teacher, earning $57,000 a year. It's not much, especially when you consider I'm paying student loans, rent, bills, food. But I had saved. For months, I'd saved money, cut expenses, brought a packed lunch to work every day, canceled my streaming subscription. I bought my mother a beautiful Italian silk scarf, a deep blue that I knew would match her eye color perfectly. It cost $180. I spent 3 hours in the store, comparing shades, feeling the texture, making sure it was perfect. For my father, I got an engraved Parker pen for $145 because he had casually mentioned months ago that he needed a good pen for signing important documents. I even bought Juliet a rare art book for $120 about an artist we'd talked about seeing together in an exhibition. I actually stood in front of the mirror that morning, fixing my hair, practicing my smile, thinking, maybe this Christmas will finally be different. Maybe they'll see how much I care. Maybe this will make a difference. That ridiculous hope just refuses to die, you know? No matter how many times it's squashed, it keeps sprouting like a stubborn weed. So I stand up. I smooth my skirt with my palms, force a small, polite smile, and tell everyone I need some fresh air. No one even looks up, except Aunt Margaret. She crosses the room, her shoes making that soft click on the Persian rug, and squeezes my shoulder hard. It's a squeeze that hurts, but it hurts in a good way. She leans in and whispers in my ear, "You deserve so much more than this, darling. So much more." I grab my coat from the pile in the entryway, grab my purse, and just walk out. No drama, no scene, no tears, at least not yet. I leave dinner waiting there and drive to Council Crest Park, park facing the city lights below, and finally let myself cry. All those tears I've been holding back for hours, for days, for years, they just pour out. I'm staring at this stupid $2 card, clutching it with both hands, and thinking about how I spent 29 years of my life waiting for love like that. And it's never going to happen. Never. A month passes. It's 2 a.m. on a cold Tuesday in January, and I'm sitting on my living room floor, surrounded by photo albums, financial documents, old letters, and printed emails. It's as if I'm conducting my own archaeological dig, unearthing layers and layers of systematic neglect. I look at the photos from my 13th birthday. There's a blurry photo of me blowing out candles on a molten supermarket cake, a sad chocolate thing that probably cost $15. I'm smiling in the photo, but I can see the disappointment in my 13-year-old eyes. On the opposite page are the elaborate photos from Juliet's 16th birthday party at the Benson Hotel. Crystal chandeliers, a custom 3-tiered cake that looked like a work of art, decorations that must have cost thousands. I pull out my acceptance letter from Portland State University. I'd received a full academic scholarship because my grades were impeccable. Attached to the letter is a note from my parents. "We're proud of you. You'll need to work part-time to cover expenses. We know you can do it." Right next to it, I find Juliet's acceptance letter to fashion school. Their note to her reads, "Don't worry about anything other than your studies. We'll take care of everything." I never realized before how carefully I've documented my own invisibility over the years. It's as if part of me always knew that one day I would need this proof, this validation that I'm not going crazy, that the pattern is real. My hands tremble as I flip through my college graduation photos. Mom and Dad showed up 20 minutes early because Juliet's preliminary fashion show needed them. There's a photo of me alone on stage, holding my diploma, searching for them in the crowd. My face tries to hide the disappointment. I open a notebook where I've tracked everything over the years. My student loans total nearly $25,000, even though I worked 20 hours a week for minimum wage throughout college. I find an email from my dad from 3 years ago. "Sorry, honey, we can't help with the apartment deposit right now. Things are tight." Right next to it, I find a newspaper clipping about Juliet's fashion school costing $38,000 a year, plus an additional $20,000 for her study program in Milan. I'm paying $1,200 for a one-bedroom apartment with unreliable heating, while Juliet posts on Instagram about her $2,800 luxury apartment that they fully finance. She complains about the noise from the neighbors, and I struggle to keep my heater working in the winter. My phone starts vibrating with the family group chat. Mom is asking about a casual Sunday dinner. The old me would have immediately checked my calendar, moved appointments, and said yes. Instead, I type, "Sorry, I have plans." No explanation. No elaborate excuses. Just a simple boundary. 3 hours later, Juliet calls asking if I can help her move into her new place because Mom and Dad are busy with something financial. The old Elise would have dropped everything, shown up with coffee and donuts, and spent hours assembling furniture while she drove from the couch, scrolling on her phone. Instead, I text, "I'm not available. Good luck with the move." She immediately responds, "What's wrong with you lately?" 3 question marks. I watch the 3 dots appear and disappear as she types and deletes, types and deletes. Finally, I send her the most honest message I've ever sent. "I need some time away from family gatherings." Her response comes quickly. "Mommy will be upset." Not "I'll miss you," or "Is everything okay?" Just concern for mom's reaction. I put my phone away without responding because, for the first time in my life, this is no longer my responsibility. I stand in front of the bathroom mirror at 4 in the morning, staring at my weary reflection, wondering when exactly hope becomes self-destruction. I think about what I would say to my students if they were being treated this way. I would tell them they deserve respect. I would tell them love shouldn't require constant proof of worthiness. I would tell them that sometimes the family we were born into simply isn't equipped to see our worth. So I pack all these albums and financial records into a storage box. Not to forget, but to preserve the evidence. To remind myself on my down days that this isn't in my head. The pattern is real, documented, undeniable. And I'm finally allowing myself to see it clearly. 6 weeks later, I'm in a pottery studio, my hands buried deep in cold, wet clay. The wheel is spinning beneath my fingers, and there's something deeply meditative about the constant circular motion. I come every Saturday morning. I spent $250 on the course, and it's honestly the best investment I've ever made in myself. The instructor, Miranda, a woman in her 50s with gray hair tied in a messy bun and hands permanently stained with clay, tells me I have a natural talent. She explains that most beginners fight the clay, trying to force it to behave, but I'm learning to collaborate with it. The metaphor hits me hard because I spent 29 years fighting my family's perception, trying to force them to see me differently, instead of simply building something new with what I have. I started therapy too. $90 a session with Dr. Sarah Chin. That's money I used to spend on elaborate gifts for people who never appreciated them. Now I'm investing in myself, in understanding why I kept coming back, why hope persisted even in the face of overwhelming evidence. My phone buzzes with Mom's weekly attempt to pull me back. She's asking if I can host Easter dinner since Juliet is so busy with her new project. She says it would be a chance for me to show everyone my culinary skills. 3 months ago, I would have said yes immediately, desperate to prove myself through perfect deviled eggs in a spotless apartment. Now I type, "I'm not available to host Easter this year. I have prior commitments."
No explanation. No excuses.
Just a boundary. Things are starting to change at work, too. My principal calls me into his office and slides my teacher evaluation across the desk. He says the student engagement numbers are remarkable, that parents are writing letters praising my work. There's one comment from a student that makes me tear up. "Miss Turner's assignment about writing our life story from a different perspective changed how I see myself. I never thought about being the hero instead of the victim. All those years of feeling invisible at home, and here I am, helping others see themselves clearly." Then he offers me the position of leading the summer writing program with an additional $5,000 stipend. He says my independent spirit is exactly what they need. That word, independent, used to hurt when Mom used it to justify her neglect, but now it carries respect. At midnight on a Thursday, Juliet calls me sobbing. Her boyfriend broke up with her, and she needs me to come immediately. I can hear the panic in her voice, the expectation that I'll drop everything and rush to her rescue. The old me would have jumped out of bed and driven through the city at breakneck speed. Instead, I tell her I'm sorry this happened and that I can talk tomorrow during my lunch break. She's shocked.
What?
"What now? This is serious, Elise. I need you now." I calmly reply that I understand she's hurting, but that I'm available at noon tomorrow. My timing matters, too. There's a long silence, and then something I've never heard her say before. "I'm sorry, Elise. I didn't think about what time it was." At 1:17 a.m., Mom leaves a furious voicemail about my selfishness, about how families should be there for each other, about how I've changed. I delete it without listening to the end. For the first time, I don't feel guilty. I feel relief. My support network begins to grow in ways I never expected. Robert, the history teacher down the hall, invites me to dinner. Aunt Margaret visits and brings Grandma's quilt, which was left specifically for me in her will, but which Mom forgot to give me. It's blue and white, handmade, each stitch a declaration of love that I'm finally receiving. My ceramics classmates are organizing a weekend hike. At a staff meeting at school, when the athletic director dismisses my suggestion with a wave of his hand, my colleague Sandra says, "Actually, Elise has been right about this for years. Maybe we should listen." It's the first time anyone at work has publicly validated my voice. When my cousin's wedding invitation arrives via group chat, I reply that I'll attend but will be driving separately and won't be staying for brunch the next day. Mom texts me asking why I'm being difficult. I reply, setting healthy boundaries isn't about being difficult. I start a balcony garden of herbs and wildflowers. In the afternoon light, I sit with my journal and write. Growth requires both distance and nourishment. My fingers are still stained with clay as I trace the words. What seeds of self-respect am I ready to plant? The ones that will finally allow me to thrive. 3 months later, I arrive at Robert's wedding in a sage green dress I'd carefully budgeted for. It cost $170, but it makes me feel beautiful, confident, as if I'm finally inhabiting my own body with pride. Juliet immediately spots us from across the room. She's overdressed as always, a gold sequined gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent. When I introduce Robert as my boyfriend of 3 months, she's visibly shocked. Wait, you're dating? For 3 months? Why didn't Mom know about that? I shrug casually and reply, Mom doesn't know everything about my life anymore. She doesn't need to know. I see the confusion on her face, as if the idea of me having a private life is completely alien. Then Aunt Margaret pulls me into a corner near the gift table, her face tight with worry. She looks around to make sure no one is listening and drops a bombshell. Elise, honey, I need to tell you something. Your parents are having serious financial problems. Your father's investments have completely failed. They've lost almost everything. Suddenly, small details start to make sense. Dad arguing with the photographer about payment methods. Mom carrying an old leather bag instead of her usual Prada. Juliet getting her credit card declined at the bar earlier. The pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was putting together start to fall into place. Later, I find Juliet crying in the backyard, sitting on a stone bench beneath an ancient oak tree. Her mascara is smeared, her hands shaking as she holds her phone. She sees me, and for a moment I think she's going to pull herself together, put her mascara back on. But she doesn't. Instead, she breaks down. Elise, she sobs. It's all over. They can't support me anymore. Dad's business is collapsing. They're selling the condo. My credit cards are all maxed out. I don't know how to live on what I actually earn. I never learned to be alone like you did. We sit there in silence for a long moment. It's the first comfortable silence we've had since we were children, before the differences in treatment became so glaring. I watch a butterfly land on a nearby flower and think about how life always finds a way to teach its hardest lessons. Inside the dining room, Dad corners me near the drinks table. He's different, older, tired, the weight of responsibility finally visible on his hunched shoulders. Elise, he says, trying to sound casual, you've always been good with finances. I need some advice on retirement planning. It's funny how suddenly my skills are valuable when they need something. Suddenly, everyone is talking about how responsible I am, how I've always been the practical, sensible one. Juliet asks me about affordable apartments with roommates, something she's never had to consider before. The irony is overwhelming. After years of invisibility, suddenly everyone sees me. But not for who I am, only for what I can provide. When Dad mentions temporary family assistance, I look him straight in the eye and say, Dad, I'm not in a position to help financially. My budget is balanced with my own needs and goals. I see the shock on his face. He never expected to hear no from me. For Juliet, I offer what she really needs: advice on budgeting, finding roommates, and finding additional jobs. Because that's how I survived. Not with $4,000 grants and mortgage-backed apartments, but with hard work, sacrifice, and resilience. When Mom tries to place blame, "Didn't we always support you when you needed it?" I ask calmly, "Do you mean emotionally or financially?" Her silence says it all. She looks away, unable to face the truth we both know. Robert and I leave early. Instead of heading home, we drive to Cannon Beach. We walk barefoot along the shore in the moonlight, the cool waves lapping at our feet, the salty air filling our lungs. He tells me I handled it all beautifully. I watch the waves and say, sometimes the greatest gift is seeing clearly. A week later, I show up at my parents' house for their important family discussion. I've set a timer on my phone, 2 hours. That's all I'll give them. The expensive furniture is gone, replaced by generic pieces from discount furniture stores. The luxurious carpet has been swapped for cheap laminate flooring. The house that once felt like a showroom now feels normal. They explain the financial collapse, the mortgage issues, Juliet's contract renewal. Then comes the request. They notice my promotion to department head with the substantial raise. They're wondering if I could temporarily help with Juliet's expenses. Just until things stabilize. Family helping family. I pull that Christmas card from my pocket and place it on the coffee table between us. Dad dismisses it with an irritated gesture. "Elise, we're discussing serious matters here." I take a deep breath and say, "This isn't about money. It's about 29 years of messages that I matter less. Every birthday, every milestone, every celebration." Dad calls it ridiculous, says they gave me everything I needed. Everything you needed, I repeat. Never what I wanted. Never the same celebration, the same investment, the same visible love that Juliet always received. Then Juliet speaks, her voice quiet but firm. But never what she wanted.
She's right, Daddy.
We've always treated her like she was less important. I've watched this all my life and benefited from it. It's not right. I explain that I'm not punishing anyone. But if we want a relationship going forward, it starts with respect and equality. When Dad asks if I'm refusing to help, I clarify. I won't be the family's financial solution while this pattern continues. I won't finance Juliet's luxury apartment when I struggled to afford my own. After Dad accuses me of being ungrateful, Juliet calmly says, she doesn't owe us anything. None of this is her responsibility. I stand up and say I need acknowledgement of what happened. I need my boundaries respected. I'm willing to help Juliet find affordable housing, create a budget, apply for jobs. But I won't sacrifice my financial security or self-respect. The truth doesn't have to be harsh to be powerful. It just needs to be spoken. A year later, I'm opening the door to my new condo. My own place, bought with $18,000 I saved through overtime and careful budgeting. Robert loads the last box while Aunt Margaret arranges wildflowers in a vase I made in pottery class. I framed the key with a plaque underneath that reads, "The price of freedom." Dad's texts are brief, but genuine now. Mom calls weekly, their conversations more real now, less performative. Small steps toward what could become an authentic connection. Juliet has a real job, a roommate who's teaching her about budgeting, and a newfound humility I never expected to see. I frame that Christmas card and place it on my desk. What once symbolized invisibility now represents strength discovered through pain. At school, a young teacher came to me crying after her family dismissed her achievements. I recognized that look. I told her that boundaries aren't selfish and offered the validation I once desperately needed. My savings account is labeled Future Dreams now instead of Emergency Fund. The ceramic studio wants to exhibit my work next month. From my balcony, watching the Portland sunset, I think about how a year ago I was sobbing in my car over a meaningless credit card. Tonight, I'm living a life built on my own terms. The gift wasn't what they gave me. The gift was finding myself. Love that must be earned isn't true love. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family or struggled with unequal treatment, you're not alone. Sometimes the hardest person to choose is yourself, but you deserve that choice. Hit the like button if this story touched you. share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more real stories about finding your worth. Leave a comment telling me about a time you had to set boundaries with your family. Your story matters, and I read every comment. Thank you for being here, and remember, your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. Until next time.